Hello, guys. Welcome to this course on how to have a difficult conversation with your kids. Today, you are facing the difficulty to have a conversation with your kids on a topic which they want to share with you. See, there are many incidents in life wherein you have to face these difficult conversations in a relationship. Maybe it is your father, maybe it is your mother, maybe it is your son or daughter. But today, this communication I'm talking about how to have a communication with your children, when they are into certain kinds of difficult situations wherein you are not in a position to take and start up this communication. So it is very important for you to understand, guys, that yes, you have to begin at some point of time to open this conversation. So I'm just talking from this location is because I want to tell you one of the most important techniques which you can implement in your life in order to have and open up a communication and in order to have a difficult conversation with your kids. It is very important, guys, to learn these techniques. It is for every parent who are having their children and they want to have a communication with them and they find it very difficult to have a communication. So what you need to do, what are the techniques which you need to follow in order to open up a difficult conversation with the children? So first of all, it is very much important. The first important technique or most important process what you need to do is that you have to come and sit in a place which is more calm and pleasant and vibrant. So why I choose, when I make my courses also, I choose places like this. This is a very vibrant place, calm place where I'm getting a fresh wind. So this will add to my course value. So similarly, whenever you want to have a difficult conversation with your children, choose the right place, because this atmosphere is one thing which adds to your communication. So choosing a right place is very much important. Choose the place wherein you can speak and have an open communication. There is no much difficulty in communicating and hearing to your sound, and there is no much difficulty of a neighbor who can listen to your communication if you speak in a loud voice also. And if there is no much disturbance from the other people of the society, and there is no much stress in the atmosphere. If you look at this place, there is no much stress in the atmosphere. It is very calm, cool and pleasant, and this will actually flare up the communication with your kids. So most of the people do not choose a right spot. It can be a holy place. Usually, to have a difficult conversation, I choose a place like Tirumala. Okay, and in that place the communication is vibrant and it goes directly into the head and heart of the other person whom I'm trying to communicate. So choose a vibrant place. It should be calm, peaceful and pleasant. It should not be a routine place like your home or your sitting room where you're talking to have a regular conversations, because the energy of your house may not be similar to the energy of the place which you choose. So better to tell them openly that we can go out to a place and have this same kind of communication. So first point is that have a nice place to discuss, because see what happens is that when you are filled up with the atmosphere which is having a lot of anxiety, your brain will release the chemicals called cortisols. Okay, so these cortisols will actually spoil the atmosphere of communication. So it should not be a routine place. So the first strategy is to have a nice place for a difficult conversation. So this is the first strategy. And the second most important strategy which you can have is that have an idea of empathetic listening. Okay, not a normal listening. You must have a thought of empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is that you try to understand the concept of the other person. Okay, you try to understand and you try to respond. When neither you, in the second way, what I need to say that when you have this empathetic listening, what will happen is that you will try to understand the other person, okay, and at the same time you will give a proper response rather than reaction. So usually people react when there is certain kind of communication which is usually a difficult communication. So what you need to do is that you need to give a proper response to the other person rather than giving a reaction. Okay, so it's very, very, very important to know that what is the difference between a response and a reaction. Reaction will flare up heat. Response will give the right communication to the other person. Okay, so it is very much important to actually respond to what is happening. So what happened in that, for example, I'm giving you example of a girl which she came to me, and she was talking about, she narrated what happened, an incident which happened with her parents. She wanted to have a difficult conversation with her parent, and the parent also wanted to have a difficult conversation, and parent was listening to her, and she was actually, her parent asked her a question that she was in a relationship with a boy, and this, with the presence of this boy, actually she was feeling happy and vibrant. So his father could understand what her daughter is feeling, and he arranged a marriage with the same girl and the same boy. Both get tied up in a marriage kind of a relationship. Okay, so this is like a communication wherein they had a very good listening and response feedbacks which were being taken up, and they were noted, and these were agreed simultaneously by both parents and the children, and it was actually ended up in a harmonious conversation, and a harmonious agreement was made between the parents and the children. So always see that if you are having a communication, the second strategy is that empathetic listening. So that this is second strategy. Third is that empathetic communication. So empathetic communication is that most of the times when I wanted to tell you something, there are pitches which usually people maintain. Pitches is you take the pitch to a very high level. You shout like this. And the second pitch is that you are not stressing at certain areas. You should understand that there are emotional points, pain points in your heart. So whenever somebody touches the emotional pain points, what happens is that you flare up with anger, with negative energy. So most of the times I see most of the parents, which they usually what they do is that they know the emotional pain points of the children, and they try to finger at that same location. Okay, they don't use it for a positive communication. Rather than what they do is that they flare up this communication and they press up this emotional pain points. They know that their children will not feel good when they put this point across the table, but they know it. So parents, what they'll do, in order to flare that communication, they'll put that point, they'll pressurize that point. They say that you are a lazy person, you come to me for these benefits. They say that, that points, they raise those points which they know that will not be accepted by their children, and they know that they'll get a negative response. So in an empathetic kind of a communication, you do not do any kind of a communication or a talk which will hit the heart of your child. So you need to understand this. So don't raise those points which the other person may feel bad. Okay, because you understand your child very well. You try, you know the mentality and psyche of your child, where he feels good and bad. You don't try to touch those points which he feels bad. Okay, so try to have an empathetic conversation. And most important thing is that the fourth strategy which I want to tell is that feel like him. Okay, it is like feel like him is that putting yourself in the shoes of your child. It is very difficult for us to, at the age of 50, to understand how the other person of 20 is feeling. Okay, so it is very important to put yourself into the shoes of your children. Okay, because at your young age also you might have the same kind of feelings, the fresh feelings what you had at the age of 20, and now the same feelings the current your child is trying to express with you. So if you want to have and feel the correct response from your child, what you need to do is that you need to think as he thinks. Okay, you need to fit your mentality, your psyche, and actually you need to leave your current psyche and you need to fit up to the mentality of your child, because you have been studying him from past 15-20 years, and you know how he behaves well and how he acts and how he reacts, everything you know. So what you need to do is that you need to put yourself into the shoes of your child at that present moment, and you need to behave like it. So most of the times what happens is that you actually remain in the role, okay, of a father. Okay, leave that role and become a friend for your child in order to have a very difficult conversation. So this is the fourth point. The fifth point which I want to tell you is that avoid rigidity. Okay, avoid rigidity. So most of the parents will have this rigid, what they think is, what they feel is that, is correct. So they say that, what I think is out of my experience and what you are doing is wrong, right? So what is they do is that they take a point and they are rigid on that point. If you're rigid on the point, you're not able to achieve anything, okay? And you cannot have open, difficult conversation with your children. So whenever you're having a communication, see that are you stuck at some place? Are you rigid at some place? Are you taking a stand on some point wherein it may be wrong from your end? So see that you are not overly rigid to some points, okay? So this is the most important thing, is that avoid rigidity, okay? And the next point is that, avoid forming judgment based on your opinions, okay? This is the most important thing, that you actually pass on your judgment based on your opinions, okay? Opinions and judgments will change over a period of time. So don't pass on your opinions and don't pass on your judgments on the lifestyle of your children, of what the choices they have made in your life. Your judgments and your opinions will not work in the current life. So you need to understand that your judgments may fail. So avoid judging your children based on the behavior, okay? Because you do not know the intent, okay? Usually people behave, they do not understand why the children are behaving as such way, and they form the opinions and they pass on the judgments, okay? So this is the important point which you need to note. And the most important point which I want to tell in this video is that try to understand what is the intent of your child besides the behavior which is expressing, which is showcasing. Mostly what happens is that as a parent, we do not try to understand why your child is behaving in such a way. So usually we look at the behaviors of the people. We do not know the intent behind their behavior. So you need to understand what is the intent besides the behavior, why they are behaving in such a way. What is the intent? If the intent is nice or correct, and if you try to understand the intent besides any kind of a behavior, what you will know is that you know what they want in their life. Are they behaving correctly or wrong? Then you can make a judgment. That is a different issue. But if you do not know any the intent besides their behavior, you will come up with a fight or an argument or a heated discussion. So try to understand the intent besides the behavior of your children. So this is the most important thing which you need to have in a communication. So these are some of the most important strategies to have, okay, to have open up a difficult conversation. And even another important strategy which I wanted to share across is that the control of your voice modulation and raising your voice to a certain level. People, whenever they want to have a conversation with the children, they raise their voice, which is not required. So do not raise your voice, which is not required, because your feelings may be misunderstood by the children. So do not raise your voice and intensity of your voice whenever you are trying to have a difficult conversation with your children. This is the most important point, because you need to keep your voice at control at all the time. And the next point which I want to share is that authority. Okay, and most of the parents, what they have is, while having a communication with their children, they try to put authority, they try to authorize means, they try to show that they are elder than them, so I have an authority over you. So you should understand that nobody likes authority. If someone comes here and tells me, you go out of this place and all these things, I'll ask, why are you asking me to move out of this place? Who are you to ask me? Are you the owner of this lake? I'll ask. So this is called authority. So do you think people like authoritative behavior? No. Nobody likes authoritative behavior. Though you are a parent or a husband or somebody else, and even if you are occupying some of the powerful positions, people usually don't like authoritative behavior. Even if you are sitting at a position of authority and power, you need to present yourself and you need to express yourself and you need to pass on the authority with a lot of politeness. Okay, you cannot say that you are sitting at the positions of power and authority and you can pass on your orders as you wish. It should be very polite, because the other person may take it in a very wrong way. Okay, So even if you want to have a difficult conversation with your children, what you need to do is that you need to control your tendency to have a feeling of authority over them. It feels very simple, but it is one of the most powerful techniques which people should understand. What in having a communication. Second thing is that the other point which I wanted to discuss is most important thing is that clarity building. Okay, so you need to logically have a conversation with your children, and you need to understand whether they have the proper clarity in whatever the decisions they have taken. Okay, so if you want to present your point also, you need to back up your points with proper logical information with proper clarity, information with proper evidences. You should not talk anything which is coming into your mouth, because they'll take it as a vague communication which you are doing. But if you want to establish a strong communication, what you need to have is that you need to have a clarity. Okay, so most of the people miss the communication clarity, and what is happening is that they end up with a fight or a war. It becomes very rigid communication when you don't have a clarity and you don't have a vision how to have a communication. And at the end of every communication, the next thing is which I want to tell is that reach an agreement. If you are opening communication with your children, if you're opening a difficult conversation with your children, at the end of the thing, what you need to do is that you need to come to an agreement at one point of time with yourself and with your child. This is the most important thing. Usually people don't come up with an agreement with their children. They end up with a war-like situation. Don't end up with a war-like situation with your children. Rather than end up with an agreements which you have made with the kind of communication which you have started for. The reason besides this communication, it was a difficult communication, maybe regarding to his health, regarding to his finance, regarding to his career, maybe his love decision, maybe his marriage, his anything, any difficult conversation he may have, his private life, whatever. But you have to end up with an agreement with your child. This is called securing an agreement with your children. So all these points which I have discussed, all these strategies which I have discussed, which will help you a lot in having a difficult conversation with your child. Thing is that you need to listen to this video again and again, and watch this as many times as possible until you get these points, and try to have closed and harmonious communication wherein it is healthy for both of you, both of the parent and child, and you end up in a very good relationships together, and you'll continue to have a better relationship ahead with your child. And this is what I wanted to convey. So hope you like this video, guys, and I want you to implement the ideas which are being discussed in this video, and share your thoughts and share your opinions about this video, and I'll touch base with you once again on my next videos wherein I'll be talking about how to live a vibrant life. Bye, guys.